What?
Having Monday off, so you're stiff now.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, so welcome everybody to Talking Niagara on Tuesday, August 5th. Okay, so how was your weekend, Dave?
It was okay.
Yeah, well, I got some more work done around the house.
I did.
I'm trying to reclad the garage,
Ah.
right? So I'm doing this in metal,
Oh, okay.
right? But we'll see. It's coming out quite good, coming out quite well so far. No major problems. All right. So good morning, Mike. Okay, so there's a US bill here to provide $600 worth of tariff rebates to everybody, and this is produced by Josh Hawley, who's a Republican from Missouri, isn't he?
Um,
Mo.
yeah. I'm trying to get the page up now. It's just killed me. It won't. Oh, there it is. So yeah. So basically, what Holly's done is looked at what the effects of the tariffs will do. Now we've talked about this a lot. That the average person is the person that's going to be paying the for the tariffs. They claim to have brought in $30 billion worth of money from tariffs, but that's not money that was brought in. It is brought into the U.S. government, but it is paid by the people of the United States. This is beginning. This has alarmed Holly, and he's seeing that the effects of the tariffs will percolate down to the average person, which has been what everybody's been saying for a very long time. And what he has said that, we need to get out a rebate to the average person of $600, man, woman, and child, depending on their income level, which would be something like anyone making under $150,000 or something like that. So they can get $600 rebate, and everybody in their family can get this $600 rebate. What does that tell you? That tells you he's very alarmed at what the tariffs are going to be doing to the average person. Now, it's very interesting that when Donald Trump heard about this, he changed the name of it from a rebate to a dividend. He says, yes, because we're making so much money off of tariffs, alluding to the fact that there's someone else bringing in the money, like, said that they will give a dividend to the average person. So he changed it from a rebate to a dividend, as if the tariffs that everybody has to pay, every consumer has to pay, is an investment of some kind.
Yeah.
So what everyone has said up until now, that it will push, it will be problematic for the economy, because the average person is now the one that has to pay more money. We saw that the shift, that the tax cuts that were beneficial for those people making the most money in the United States, means that the government has less money. In order to make up for that less money, they have this tariff. But of course, that tariff's not paid by any outside government. It's paid by the average person who consumes. And since it's mostly put on goods, it is the average person that is paying it. If you have to pay $1.50 for your banana, let's say you would pay $1 for a banana, now you have to pay $1.50 for the banana. That's not going to affect the rich people at all, but that's going to affect the average person, because that means a choice for them. But they were going to buy 3 bananas. Now they're going to buy 2.
Yeah. And again, here what happens, of course, is that they collect thousands of dollars off the average American in tariffs, and they're going to give 600 back. So the whole argument is, why the hell did you put the tariffs on in the first place?
Yeah, to the degree that they are. If you put 5% tariff, that's nothing. But if you put 10, 15, 20, in case of Brazil, 50% tariff, well, that's going to push the price of everything up. Now, most of the companies have been very quiet about having to add the tariff to the cost of the things they sell because they don't want to get Donald Trump all angry. We saw that when Amazon added the price of the tariffs to the stuff that they were selling, Donald Trump said it was a political move to make him look bad. So sure, Amazon removed what?
Sure, it was a political move. I applaud Mr. Bezos for doing it.
Well, Mr. Bezos quickly took them off. He was very, very weak. Bezos is a Trump supporter, so we can't count on him. But eventually, all he does is then put the price without putting the tariff on it, without identifying the tariff. So if he's selling a pair of shoes that come from Indonesia or Malaysia, and now that pair of shoes went from $100 to $125, then he just puts $125 without identifying the tax on it, which is the tariff tax.
Yeah.
So you don't know why that is more expensive. So goods have already begun to climb up. Procter & Gamble says that 25% of its products will see a rise in prices due to tariffs. Ford and GM have lost billions of dollars due to tariffs. They have tried to keep the price of the things they sell to a lower level for the meantime, because they don't know where these tariffs are going to end up. But sooner or later, those tariffs are going to have to be charged. And as we've said before, if you get a case of wine, let's say you get a bottle of wine, or say a case of wine from the European Union, and that's $1,000. With the 15%, that's now $1,150. So what will eventually happen, what will usually happen, is the seller will reduce the cost of their items for a short period of time, and those buying it will take a bit of a hit on the profit for a short time, and then gradually add the tariff in, because they don't want to lose the market share right away.
Yeah, because you don't put that $1,000 thing up by 15% like that in an instant. You increase the price 1% a month or something like that.
Yeah, you ease it in.
Yeah.
Well, that easing in process hasn't even really begun, even though it's beginning to show that the prices of things have gone way up or starting to go up. Most of the tariffs have not even been charged yet. So we're going to look at a situation where the price of things in the United States will begin to rise when the seller can no longer pay the tariff, as in the case of the big motor companies. Ford, GM, and Stellantis have been eating a lot of the costs because of the high tariff rates put on car parts. So that's going to show up in the price tag.
Yeah.
We also found that Trump fired the statistician of the BLS, the labor statistics person who revised the labor the labor statistics to show that employment was nowhere near what it was thought to be, that new employment has come down. The only to it was expected to be 150,000 or something, and it went down to like about 17,000. So the labor statistics people put out numbers that Trump didn't like. He said that she was that person was a Biden appointee, although she got 86-6 votes in the Senate, which is astonishing when she was bipartisan votes in the Senate. And he said it's a Biden appointee that has fixed the figures to make them look bad. That's very dangerous, because
it's a very dangerous thing to be starting to say, because, whoever appointed them, they, statisticians are statisticians. Donald Trump could appoint them and they'd give exactly the same figures.
Yes, it has very little to do with the person at the top.
Yeah.
All the person at the top is coordinates the data, and the data is quite slow in coming in quite often. So there's readjustments in it, and this happens all the time.
Yeah.
Trump claimed that the same statistician made Biden look good in revised estimates, and now she's making him look bad. But if you go back to September, October of 2024, the labor statistics were readjusted lower to make Biden look worse, rather than better. So Trump really doesn't have anything to stand on that point.
Yeah, because
right before the election, the stats that came in made Biden look worse.
Yeah,
because the employment was did not come out the way Biden would have liked it.
Yeah. And it's one of the factors of Harris losing the election.
It's called the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Now, there are problems with labor of statistics because people tend to submit their data late.
Yeah.
So what happens is the Bureau has to come up with a figure that they have to guess largely on first, and then they have to revise it later. Well, the revised labor numbers were quite low, the worst since COVID times, and it sort of belied Trump and the MAGA people about how well the economy was doing. They always said that the economy is doing great, jobs are coming in, and prices are going down. What we find is prices are going up and jobs are not growing. That means but people aren't losing their jobs. It's just another thing. Companies are just kind of holding on to the amount of labor they have for the meantime because they don't know what's going to happen. They don't want to lose the trained labor they have right now.
Yeah.
So they're not really laying off in a big way, except for the auto companies. They're not laying off a whole lot at this particular point, but they aren't hiring anyone new ones because they don't have confidence in where the economy is going. And so Trump, what's he do? He fires the person that's in charge of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is a meaningless thing. And is implying that he's going to put somebody in there that tells him what he wants to hear. He's going to replace her. He's going to replace her with somebody who will tell him what he wants to hear. Now, Josh Hawley has come up with this, and he's cleverly designed the bill to be favorable to Trump by saying that this was a bill for rebates, which Trump renamed dividends, the rebates for the effects of tariffs. And he didn't blame the tariffs. He blamed the Biden administration, which is kind of clever of him. He knows, of course, that had nothing to do with the Biden economy. And he knows it has to do with the tariffs. So he says, because of the of what Biden had done to the economy. We have to make sure that the American people are not affected so bad with the tariffs, which is double talk, but that's the only way that he can get it out there. You can't blame the tariffs. You can't blame Trump, even though he knows that's where the problem is. He has to blame Biden, which is if Trump hears that, he says, "Oh yeah, well we got to fix what Biden broke." It's I don't know. It's such hypocrisy. That's what a MAGA politician has to do now. They have to if they have something good, they have to make it sound as if they're blaming someone else other than the current government for the effects. So that up here in Canada, the tariffs that we have been charging the U.S. stuff, we're the only country aside from China to fight back with reciprocal tariffs to the U.S. We're going to take that tariff money and reinvest it in our own industries. Try to soften the blow that the tariffs are going to have. Now, what this means, tariffs means that the reason why everybody's upset about the tariffs is because if you charge a 35% tariff on stuff coming from Canada, that means less stuff will be sold from Canada in the United States. We don't pay the tariff, but the people in the United States will. And if they pay 35% on anything coming from Canada, they're going to buy less of it. And right now, the way the situation is, the government has not, the U.S. government has not even begun to charge as much tariffs as it has. It's already collected $30 billion. It should collect $100 billion by the end of the year, they say, but that's $100 billion out of the pockets of the average American. And for some reason, they have to keep repeating that over and over and over again because people aren't getting it. So Josh Hawley is a very clever fellow. Yeah. He's also he's introducing a bill that would say that senators and congressmen cannot enjoy the benefits of the stock market. They have to pull themselves out of the stock market and sort of not involve themselves in the stock market. And they point out Nancy Pelosi as someone who's made a lot of money in the stock market since she's been a politician. Well, all politicians are doing that. Well, Hawley isn't one of these guys is saying, well, that shouldn't happen. We shouldn't be profiting from being in the government. And he's found that Trump fought back on that. And he thinks he had to tell Trump that it didn't mean him. It just meant senators and congressmen. It didn't need the president. But the president thought that he was lying and called Josh Hawley a second-rate senator and all this other stuff. Pretty soon, I think that Trump will fall from the tree. The big orangutan will fall from the tree because even more and more of the Republicans are can't handle what he's doing. He's acting like a petulant child. 50% tariffs on Brazil, where the United States has a huge surplus with Brazil. Brazil buys way more from the United States than it sells to the United States. So that's very advantageous. But Trump put a 50% tariff on them to manipulate their legal structure because the country is going after Bolsonaro for the sort of the corruption that he introduced to the country. So he has to be judged by the legal system. Trump doesn't like that, even though he's making money hand over fist selling stuff to Brazil. He's going to put he has put a 50% tariff on the goods coming out of Brazil because he doesn't like what they're doing legally, like as if it's his business. But he likes Bolsonaro, so he's going to give him a 50% tariff. it's very strange, and I think that the Republicans themselves will have to come up with something. And we saw too another interference. Trump told Texas to come up with 5 more electrical gerrymander their electoral districts so that he can get 5 more seats out of the midterms. And the Governor Abbott saluted Trump and immediately started to do this. They do not redistrict. They do not redistrict electoral areas until a census comes out, and then they do it. So that happens every 10 years. This is 5 years after the census, and they're redistricting already. And what we found in the United States that the Democrats have left, Democrat congressmen, representatives have left Texas, so they can deny Governor Abbott a quorum, so he can't go ahead with it. So basically, he's an empty suit. He bows down to Trump. Trump says, "Redistrict, okay, I'll do it." There's nothing to do with Texas. It didn't come out of a Texas idea at all. And the redistricting, as I say, usually happens, what always happens, right after the census, so everybody knows the demographics before they realign electoral districts.
Well, they've got the dumbest kind of district setup there is on the planet. You know, it's like you link 2 cities together that got nothing to do with one another as one electoral district.
Oh, you'll see one electoral district. You'll see a bulk of demographic here, and then a long line that follows a highway to another bulk of demographics. So they can add these 2 together and make one Republican or Democrat, because the Democrats do the same thing. But the gerrymandering's got out of hand. It usually is, each party does the gerrymandering, but in this particular case is ultra ridiculous because it's the states that do it, not the federal government. And when Trump says, "Hey, Governor Abbott, I want 5 more districts, see that it's done," and he bows down and does it.
All right, moving on. So let's tariff that smoke from Canadian wildfires, which are bringing unhealthy air to parts of the US.
Yeah, this happened last year too, if you remember.
Yeah. I know it was exactly the same last year. It's seemingly an annual thing at the moment with the Canadian. We've had it for the last 3 years, haven't we? Canadian wildfires.
I think even more than that.
I can remember specifically the last 3 years. I can't remember, I can't remember them specifically before then. But yeah, probably has.
Yeah, I can't open that article, so you'll have to speak to it. Basically, I do know a forest firefighter in Northern Ontario, and they went to one of the reservations there that they had to evacuate, and they were doing the fighting in the res. And there was lots of dogs on the res, and the dogs had to be abandoned. And they were killing and eating each other. And he witnessed that himself. He witnessed a puppy. A puppy saw him and tried to run towards him. A bigger dog ran out of the woods, went to the puppy and killed it and was going to eat it. All he did was just kind of make the thing a little more comfortable while it died. And so that's unfortunately, that's the kind of thing that's happening in wildfires. We have many
they're talking about air quality problems, and we got to think about these here because people with lung disease, heart disease, children, older adults, pregnant women are most susceptible when there's poor breathing conditions.
Yeah, I think
I was noticing when I was traveling on Saturday that it looked murky out there, even though it was a nice bright day.
Well, it's probably the combination of smog and humidity, like the pollution, car pollution and humidity. That's probably what it was. You had a lot of, during the weekend, you had a lot of extra car traffic down here. So that was probably what it was. More pollution and humidity rather than smoke from fires.
It wasn't that humid on Saturday, but it just seemed odd that there was a lot of, it just looked odd.
Well, I would
Very
suggest
murky outside.
It's pollution. Yeah. And remember, we get over 50% of our pollution from the United States because of the prevailing winds.
Yeah, I know.
So 50% of our, like on Monday, like for instance, like we have a holiday here. I don't think they had one down there, but so you would think the pollution coming up from the States, particularly in the summertime when they're using a lot of air conditioning, would affect our air quality.
Yeah, normally there is a holiday on the same day as yeah. I don't know. I didn't look up whether there was an American holiday. Yeah.
No, I didn't either. But but if it was business as usual, then we would have got their extra amount of pollutants. Like I say, over 50% of our air pollutants come from the United States.
Yeah.
And mostly from the big coal burners, because they use a lot of coal burners still to provide electrical power.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Moving on. Niagara tourism is top of mind for visiting federal minister. So, Federal Minister Richie Valdez recently visited Niagara Falls to specifically promote tourism and highlight the Canada Strong Pass, a federal initiative aimed at boosting domestic travel.
I just don't know with Valdez. Valdez is the federal minister of women and gender equality and secretary of state, small business and tourism. So that's a lot. That's
a big portfolio.
And they were down to check out the Filipino cultural the Fiesta Extravaganza, which celebrates Filipino culture in Niagara. It was held at Farmers Park. So Valdez crisscrossed the region during the weekend to promote the Canada Strong Pass, introduced by the federal government to bolster inter-Canadian tourism.
Have you heard of this one before? Because I don't think I've heard of it.
No, I think it's new.
Yeah.
I think it's new. Canada Strong Pass is just something that is trying to incentivize Canadians to go to travel in Canada, of course.
Yeah.
And the Canada Strong Pass is supposed to give them a break, I think, on the prices of things like going into museums or other attractions. It says the intention of the Canada Strong Pass is to leverage on the fact that Canadians are choosing not to go to the United States, and staying local allows them to save money while enjoying time with the family and see the beauty of Canada. Niagara Falls is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
So I think the pass, you would get a pass locally, like you would get pass for the Niagara region, because Valdez says particularly Niagara allows people to access some of the national parks, including Fort George, the National Historic Sites in Niagara-on-the-Lake. Many folks who come to Niagara Falls are looking for an experience, so while they're checking out the falls, they can go visit local museum, explore. It's got free or discounted access, and they can visit a national park. So basically, it's something to make it more attractive for Canadians to stay in Canada or even locally and spend their money that way. We do know that an enormous amount of money is being withheld from the United States because of tourism. Canadian tourism into the United States has dropped incredibly. Tourism from Europe to the United States has dropped quite a bit.
Yeah.
Although the United States has an enormous domestic economy, it relies less on imports and exports than any other country because it has a huge domestic market.
Yeah.
Where it gets most of its revenue. Sectors of that economy are suffering because of the policies of the Trump government, and that, of course, one of those big sectors is tourism.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's been affected, particularly places like California, Florida. And there's been cities in California and Florida that have been mounting campaigns to attract Canadians.
Yes, and of course, our U.S. Visitors have gone down as well, and we don't know why that is. It's probably because I don't know if they don't feel welcome up here. I don't know, but they are probably feeling the pinch as well. They probably because of the effects of tariffs and stuff. A lot of people don't want to go because, as we know that many of Americans have front loaded as much stuff as they can. They've gone out and bought cars before the tariffs hit. They've bought a lot of stuff ahead of time. Maybe not when they were normally going to buy them. So when they wanted to buy a fridge, stove, a car, all these other things, they want to beat the tariffs before the tariffs get included in the price. So they may have a little less money on hand to take a trip that they normally would have done.
Yeah, because they've given up the trip to buy the stuff.
Yeah, we can be assured that really did happen. Yes. Yeah,
and basically, Mike is saying let's advertise Canada, Travel Canada on the Canadian TV stations, radio stations, etc.
Yeah, that would be it. So I don't get TV, so I wouldn't know if they're doing that at all right now. If you guys who get TV, do you see anything like that? Advertisements?
I don't watch normal TV. I watch Netflix and see a few things like that. So don't see normal ads.
The only thing I watch is YouTube.
Yeah, I don't see normal ads.
Yeah, so I don't either.
Yeah.
And when I do go to somebody's place and they got TV or something, and let's say we're watching a hockey game or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I can't stand it. The commercials are just driving me nuts. And then if we do watch a show, let's say I've got an indoor antenna that I take out on my balcony so I can watch Jeopardy once in a while because that's the only show I really like. So I'll put it out.
I haven't seen Jeopardy in a year now.
So I'll take it out and put it out there, and I got to put up with the commercials. It's easier to go on YouTube and watch it afterwards without the commercials.
You got YouTube on?
They post them on YouTube. Somebody posts them on YouTube.
Do they? All right. Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. I'm going to find Jeopardy again.
Yeah. That's the only thing I really watch, except some stuff from PBS. Like I'll watch some PBS stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes the news from PBS.
Yeah. Okay. So the Penn Center's been sold.
Yes, and they have a whole lot of new plans for it.
Yeah.
So the outfit that's bought them. Now the article begins with how big malls started, how they were sort of the alternative to downtowns and other places, so that people could do all their shopping in one place. Penn Center is being extremely successful, much more successful than Niagara Square. Niagara Square just went flat; it didn't work at all.
They didn't build it right, Niagara Square, basically.
I don't think they promoted it well enough and all that,
Yeah.
but whatever. Penn Center
It
is
was in the
still
wrong
quite
part. It was in the wrong part of the city. Let's be blunt about it. It was when Niagara Square was built. It was built out over in the far corner of the city, where nobody lived at the time. I know
yeah,
it's a
and
different picture now.
yeah. So that if you look at Penn Center, it was built right in very, very close to the suburbia, basically.
And it was
So,
also right on a hub next to, come off the highway to the Penn Center. Penn
yeah,
Center
so
was always a much more attractive place to go than Niagara Square.
yeah, even if it was farther away than Niagara Square.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, even though Niagara Square was where it was still a lot closer than Penn Center.
Yeah.
But people went to Penn Center instead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's happening here is malls have had a real problem. They're the way they used to do it is they get a big anchor store like the Hudson Bay Company or Sears or something. So they're having a big anchor store. So they have a big department store as an anchor, and then they would have satellites all around them made up of all little other stores.
Yeah.
So they needed this big anchor to be the primary draw. And then people would come in and use the rest of the facilities to buy.
You go to some of the American malls and they've not got one big anchor store, but they might have 2 or 3 big anchor stores.
Well, Penn Center still has a kind of an anchor. I think they got a Walmart in there, don't they? So they got a big Walmart.
I think there's a new Walmart there. The old the Bay is closed. It is closed now, of course, and that was the big attractor at one point.
Yeah, and at one time it was Sears, and I think it was Robinson's that was supposed to be the big anchor in Niagara Square. I can't even remember now, but so this has gone by the wayside. So you have these big stores that are no longer the big appeal. So what do you do with what you have?
Yeah.
So they're looking around and they say that we have these enormous amounts of parking area that's not being used most of the time. It only fills up during Christmas time and times like that, but we have enormous parking lots that are just left doing nothing. So what they want to do is build residences on them. So that was part of it. So what they do is there's a lot of technical blabbity blab when you read the article. And basically what they're saying, as studying the demographics and the ebbs and flows and the needs of the demographic around blah, 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 blah. But basically all they want to do is reevaluate what they have. So they have a lot of land that's not being used. So they're going to put up apartments.
Yeah. Basically, okay, but what happens? So what happens when it comes to Christmas time and everybody wants to go shopping at the mall?
Well, you're out of luck. And so what they're going to do is utilize at least some of that land for residential stuff. Sometimes there are some they may begin to knock down some of the bigger stores fronts like the Hudson Bay or something like that. They may knock it down and they may make apartments right in there. So what they're looking at is to add mixed use, basically. If you buy a building, let's say you buy an apartment building on a busy street, let's say, and the lower part of the building is business, but everything up above it is apartment. So that would be mixed use.
Yeah.
Right. So they're trying to do a similar thing there. Probably just take parts of Penn Center and turn them into residences. And that will help feed. That would help feed the mall anyway, because
I think that's
residents within walking distance. If residents just come out their door and walk to the mall, so that will help
that's
the mall.
Not a dumb idea, actually. There was a mall I went to. We're talking 20 odd years ago now, in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. Above the mall was it depends which part of the mall you're in. Above the mall and below, the mall was actually on the first 3 floors of the building, and it went from building to building to building to building. It kind of, there was walkways through between all these buildings, so there was malls and malls and malls and commercial buildings, and then the first 3 floors above the building were all commercial, so office space there, and then above that there was residential space.
Yeah,
so
there's mixed use right there. Yeah,
mixed use, and this went on for about 15 city blocks.
well, I don't think Penn Center is going to expand that much.
I know. We're talking a small place, but not the same sort of thing. But they're doing it like on the street, like they were street. And you park in a mall, and feed into that, and I guess there were people parking that were living there as well.
Yeah. So what Penn Center, what this new development company is going to do is do that, basically mix use it. There could be some commercial. Yeah. There could be some office space there. What they have as an advantage to them is a transportation hub too, because that's a transportation hub for buses. Yeah. So they have that as an advantage. The big anchor stores are now albatrosses, so they have to be changed into something, or at least knocked down. Yeah. They have a picture here of one mall being changed where they knocked down the old Target store, and they were going to rebuild that mixed use as well. So I think what we're going to find is a lot of that, and it makes perfect sense. If you put your apartment building or condo on that land in the huge parking lot, you have a constant source of business into that mall, don't you?
Yeah.
Right. If you need something, you need a pair of shoes, or you need a shirt or whatever, you can either go online and get it, or just walk across the parking lot into the Penn Center, which would make a constant source of business for retailers there. Plus the fact that you have the transportation hub, and they're talking about looking at the demographics of the area. So they have to study the demographics to see what the new demographic wants. So you have lots of Sikhs, Filipinos, et cetera, et cetera. So they say who lives in and around here, who uses this mall, and then try to develop businesses and retail that will attract them into the place.
I have to say that unfortunately, when it comes to going to malls, I haven't been to a shopping mall in forever. I used to remember it used to be that at the Saturday afternoon sport, if you like. We go to the shopping mall, even if you didn't buy anything, you go to the shopping mall just for looking around.
Well, I used to take my little ones to Niagara Square because it was mostly empty, and during bad weather and stuff like that, and I take my little ones, and there'd be these big long hallways where they could run like crazy all the way down and all the way back, and not interfere with anybody, because the only other people in there were seniors going for a walk, and so I think I had this.
That was the worst thought out mall. To be quite honest, if you were going to put a mall in, I would have done it about Stanley and Ferry area. If you're going to do a mall, then you would have had tourists come as well as locals could come.
No, I would have done it around where the old Acres building was, because you can come right off the highway and go in there, and pretty much down from where the Home Depot and that old place should have been a real mall too. If you wanted to make a mall, that would have been a good place for it, right at the top of Morrison Road there. But Morrison Road didn't go that far for the longest time. It sort of went up to Drummond Road and stopped there. So when they put the Niagara Square there, Morrison, I don't think went that far. But where you find Canadian Tire, Home Depot, and Zara's and all that could have been a good indoor mall, but they didn't do it that way. So you see in that parking lot enormous amounts of parking space that is not used. So presumably they could even mix that as well, because it also has a transportation hub.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's an interesting concept there as well, because the transportation hub's in the wrong place, but that's another matter entirely.
Yeah.
All right. Any comments about this? Well, let's go. Yeah. Mike saying, truly, the last thing we need is residential. How many more unaffordable housing ideas are going to be allowed? When do we pause and take a look at how many new homes are empty?
Well, that's one of the reasons why this some of this stuff is where a lot of this mixed use planning has started. They've stopped it because homes are not selling. Homes are not selling because people can't afford them, not because they don't want them. And Mike's right about that. Affordability, that's the thing. And when they talk about mixed use and talk about bringing residential into these malls, they're not talking about affordable residential. They're talking about, higher end stuff. You're going to have to, I would say we'd have to be making a minimum of $100,000 a year. Whereas the Niagara region, I think the mid-level, the high-end mid-level or average is around $62,000. So you're talking about putting stuff there and putting nice residential and everything, but believe me, if you're not selling residential and people can't afford it, and you refuse to build affordable stuff, how about building something that someone can afford? And those residences will just jump off the market. People will buy them like crazy, because they can afford them.
Whether you're renting them,
we have all this housing all being arrested. We have all this talk about adding so many million more residences and stuff to bring down the prices, but they haven't brought down the prices, have they? Because people can't afford them. I wonder why. Because they're not building affordable homes.
Yeah. Well, in fact, the only way to get affordable homes realistically is going to be if you're buying, you've got to go somewhere and find a dump that you're prepared to actually put up and make an offer that's below market rate.
Yes. So big ticket items like cars and homes are going up more than the average person's salary. So people wages are, and you're going to get more and more people falling into this zone where they cannot afford a good place to live, if they can afford a place to live in the first place. So what you're going to do is you're going to get apartments with 8 people in them. To be aunt and uncle, mom and dad, you and your kids, because if you're going to afford a place, that's the only way you're going to be able to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on that one?
No, except that it'll look interesting. There's a lot of modern gobbledygook type of messaging that comes out of this promo, and they use the jargon and stuff that if you just cut through the rubbish talk, like the cascades, the demographic analysis, blah 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 blah. And it's just basically whoever's bought Penn Center sees that mixed use. They see a land that should be given over to residential areas that would help. If those residential areas were affordable or contained affordable units, it would be wonderful. But I'm not banking on it.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. You got this story about the mega flash, the longest ever bolt of lightning, sets a new record at 829 kilometers.
Yeah, I just thought that would be kind of an interest
I
story,
love,
basically.
I love where this comes from. CBC Kids News.
Yes, exactly. I found it on CBC Kids News. Um, you know, the only news that you can count on nowadays, because kids won't believe lies. So I go to the kids news to find out what's going on. Now, this is a kids news thing, and of course, it's just they have back in October 2017 clocked the longest ever lightning strike or lightning bolt, and that happened to be 829 kilometers spent. Now they're beginning to be able to, over the years, beginning to find these lightning bolts and measure them.
I'm curious about how they measure them. Because
Well,
on the ground, you can see this lightning bolt come, but it doesn't look, I'm sure it doesn't look anywhere near like 800 kilometers.
Well, this is the World Meteorological Organization.
Yeah.
And what they do is I don't know how they collect the data and how they do it, but 829 kilometers, that's like 500 miles, man. That's huge. That's from here to Montreal. That's incredible, and but I've seen enormously long lightning bolts. I don't know about you, but I've been I remember like a good place to see a lightning storm is near Brock University. Some of the best ones I've seen up there. I just happened to be up there and right on the escarpment, and there's lightning bolts that start from one end of the sky and rip right across to the other end of the sky and back forth like this.
Oh, I've
Not
seen
necessarily the ones that hit the ground, but the ones that go from cloud to cloud.
Yeah, no,
they are long, man. They start, and you're doing one of these. You're watching it go like this, so you can imagine the span.
Yeah, but you see, if I'd have been seeing that, and I used to see some when I lived up the mountain from Grimsby, up there in grassy area, they used to be fantastic where you could look up from up the escarpment to see them, and yeah. You're right. They look, and do you see them whiz across the sky? The only thing about them, it's like I perceive that to be maybe 50 miles long.
Yeah. So yeah, it could be easy. Yeah, it's easy. I was on a ship going from the Canary Islands, a little kind of tramp steamer, going from the Canary Islands to the Spanish Sahara. Back in those days, it was called the Spanish Sahara, but nowadays it's a piece of Morocco.
Yeah.
So we're going there to Africa from Canary Islands, which is not that far. So it takes one whole night's journey to get there. So you leave in the afternoon, in the morning you arrive.
Yeah.
So I was out on the bow of the ship when a big storms, 3 big ones, came in. You could see them coming in as we left port. They came in, and these lightning bolts were shooting right at the Canary Islands, Las Palmas. It was like hands going out from the cloud in the sea onto the land. It was really spectacular. But later on that night, when it was dark, it was like these storms came in. You could see 3 thunderstorms come in, and they all converge. And there was lightning everywhere from one end of the sky to the other. It was huge. And it was like miles and miles high and miles wide. And it looked like, and with the lightning bolts happening behind where you could see them, it made it look like a big, huge atomic bomb, basically. It would light up.
But you see, I remember one time years and years ago, standing on the cliffs at Land's End in England, looking out across the Atlantic, and you can see the curvature of the Earth ahead of you on a good day. And but honestly, I'm wondering how far my field of vision goes. So I'd like to think it was 1,000 miles, but I doubt it.
29 miles, I think, is the most, you think, because by that time, I think it's 20 26 or 29 miles before the curvature starts to obscure what like you're looking at a ball, and then you look over top of the curve of the ball. So I'm not so sure how far you can
see
actually
the curvature go aside as you're hit, and you're 200 foot up a cliff, so you get a bit extra. You get a little bit extra, maybe an extra half a mile or so, like that.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway, so I saw this enormous. It was pretty rare because the Canary Islands gets rain 5 times a year, and of course we're going to the Sahara Desert, and it rarely gets rain at all either. But there was this massive storm. In fact, we were on the bow of the ship. Me and my 2 buddies were on the bow of the ship, and we're watching this whole thing going on, and the ship's getting tossed around a bit, and the captain suddenly realized there's 2 guys on the bow of the ship as he's going into a storm, and all we hear is amigos, andale, get out of there, amigos, and then broken English, kind of thing, no go there or something, and so I don't know, somebody told us to get off of there, and then we got pitched around pretty good, but so it made the drunken soldiers barf a lot, but that's about it. Because that's mainly who was on the ship.
I'm just fascinated by this stuff, and how do they measure them?
That's real interesting. How do they do that?
Yeah, and Mike says, imagine tapping into that power.
Exactly. There's Mike's got something there.
Well, actually, there was. I think somebody came up with the idea. I thought it was Tesla actually that came up with the idea that if you put these spikes into the sky, and not only would they, they could be like 200 foot, so they'd be above everything, most of the buildings that are around, but they'd be enough to attract the lightning, if there was lightning in the area, and then that would basically cause natural electricity to come off it.
Yeah, the trouble is then store it. Because as soon as the lightning hits the ground, it dissipates. So
and you have to turn that into power. You have to turn that into power. Exactly. You have to store it.
Yeah, there's only one way you can do it is store it, because you can't use it immediately. It would just blow everything up you have. Like if you're
I think it was Tesla that had an idea about how to deal with this.
Well, it's a variation of Benjamin Franklin's lightning rod. What we don't know about Benjamin Franklin, he was a bit of a tinkerer and inventor. He came up with the idea of a lightning rod that saved thousands and thousands of churches, basically churches or other high buildings that were made of wood, with the lightning rod. And so he was thought to be the savior, because the lightning would hit the top of the high building and ignite it. And with the lightning rod that he developed, that would redirect the lightning into the ground and save the building. So if you could redirect the lightning into a place where you could store that immense power and then use it later, that would be great.
That, I think, was something that Tesla was tinkering with an idea about, but
what wasn't he tinkering with?
I think it was Tesla, because when it comes to electricity, he was tinkering with every bloody thing.
Oh yeah, right. And even deceiving his sponsors, like the nail in his experimental. He told George Westinghouse something. That George Westinghouse was the guy that sort of sponsored him originally, but he told George Washington he had a project, but what he did was he did it what he wanted to do instead of what George thought he was doing, and so he didn't get any more money for his experiments thereafter, not major ones anyway. Yeah. So he's a guy that was responsible for pretty much putting the lights on in our house and everything else. But anyway, he quite probably did think that, because but he wouldn't have been the only one. Everyone would have understood that there's this potential power source. but what do you do with it? It's like everyone. It's like everyone knows that you need a little bit of salt, but in order to get it, you have to have a big hunk of it. Like you don't eat that. You chip it up. But how do you do that with electrical power, right?
Yeah.
Electrical power comes. So if somehow if you could store that, yeah, you could reuse it. But that seems to be a bit of a difficult project. And I'm pretty sure that investors have looked at it and seen, is it a viable thing as yet?
Well, a lot of it is that I think that probably Tesla thought it was a good idea, and I'm pretty sure it was Tesla. But as you say, it's the turning it from being that megawatts of hitting a single point at a single time to turning that into instead of just being a pulse, into something that actually is distributable and manageable.
Well, yeah.
There's
like
one
I say,
thing having that
attracting the lightning is no problem. All you do is provide it. You just put up towers and provide them with the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
Because lightning or any other energy will follow the path of least resistance. So if you have long, big, tall towers with a lightning rod on the top of them, they're going to attract a lot of electrical power. So if you're in an area where there is a lot of lightning storms, or then you put up these towers and then capture the lightning, but you'd have to capture it in a way you could store it. And I don't know how you get, so many 100,000 volts and current, and how you then take that and capture it. I don't know, but it's there. It's there. It's like the wind and the sun. It's right there.
And the irony is, it happens in most of the planet at certain times of the year, right?
Yeah. If you're ever up north during the summertime, they're a huge, like where my cottage was, man, wow. You had some spectacular lightning storms.
Yeah.
Just rattled the whole place. My
the
cottage
interesting thing
rattled.
The interesting thing is that, lightning we normally associate with, of course, rain, but it's not necessarily associated with rain.
No, because lightning strikes are the primary source of forest fires. So if there was a substantial amount of rain that came with them, they would extinguish the lightning, what the lightning ignited.
Yeah,
that's not the case. Either the rain is not enough.
Or well, I was going to say that I saw lightning in the desert.
Yeah, quite possible.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because it has to be static.
Yeah, I forget what it was, but I saw lightning in the desert.
It's all kinds of lightning that goes around a tornado. Tons and tons of lightning. Lightning happens in and around tornadoes.
Yeah.
So all it is electric charge trying to equalize.
Actually, I think it.
So I don't know. We're 8:05 right now.
Yeah, I know. We got to get going anyway. Yeah, I think it was Tunisia that I saw lightning strike, because we had a mega storm in Tunisia.
Well, yeah, you're right on the sea, so you're going to have some,
Yeah.
But in any case, let's bring up Gaza again.
The winter has the most lightning strikes around here. Some of the most lightning strikes around here.
Yeah. So anyway, Witkoff, the American guy, went to Gaza, Witkoff, and he went on a tailor-made tour set up by the IDF, took him to southern Gaza, where they have the Gaza Humanitarian Fund. And of course, he come up with a lot of garbage propaganda about how well these places are doing. They aren't doing that well at all. Canada, we can talk about it tomorrow, but Canada started to drop relief. They've come with their own airplanes and dropped a bunch of relief supplies from parachutes. Not nearly enough. The the Israeli government stopped
Yeah,
all.
we'll come back to it tomorrow anyway in detail. Yeah.
So the Israeli government stopped all supplies going in back in May to force Hamas to surrender. That didn't work. All it did was starve everybody. Now they say, oh, nobody's starving. Nobody. Well, if you stop all amounts of trucks going into there, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah.
You're not just going to starve out Hamas. You're going to starve everybody. Anyway, so don't forget Hamas, or not Hamas, but Gaza. And without further ado, I bid you adieu.